It's been a while since we featured Mars anomalies. This one brought up by Ken Pfeiffer. His work on Google Mars mimics somebody on YouTube that used to have a channel. I don't know if he still does. UFO Evidence 101. But looks like a sphere hovering above the ground. Of course, there's an overlay of letters that could be over any shadow, but it is what it is. This one is very interesting if you screen capture it clearly and you blow it up and zoom in. Kind of looks like a radar dish. Some people say it kind of looks like a type of cannon, or you may even find a humanoid type skinny figure in there if you zoom it up and look real closely. But things that are so subjective like this, they're open for scrutiny and wild imagination. This is an amazing aerial photo of Mars. Looks like a pore, looks like a landslide infiltrating on what once used to be a water-covered area. It's really these squares on the right. That flat area almost looks hexagonal in some of those forms, but the flow, it looks like there's arches and looks like there's triangular shaped tent-like structures. You zoom in very, very close. There's so many curved lines and curved features. A hook. So there are many curved, circular shaped features in this debris field. In the upper left, you see a light color. It almost looks like a haze streaming down from that patch of white that's not as white. Almost looks like a waterfall. And speaking of water, we already knew Pluto had snow or ice on it, but it just shows you there's water throughout the solar system, in the moons of Jupiter and Saturn even. Now, people accused me of putting up fake images of half-dead trees, and I'm showing you right now many pictures of half-dead trees that I did not show you. Why? Because I couldn't verify the authenticity. This picture is out of frame, out of order. We'll come back to the half-dead trees, but again, they're blaming dead forests on aluminum oxides, and maybe some areas the soil is so contaminated that kills the entire forest. However, there's new growth coming in, so basically a lot of these areas look like burn scars that have the bark has then subsequently been bleached by the sun after 5 or 6 years of this intensity, and no shade up there. Why? Because the trees are dead. Now, I have no doubt that aluminum oxides in the soil are hard on trees and can kill trees. But when you have new growth, you're saying, well, I guess the soil isn't that poisonous. So the new growth tells me this was a burn scar. Now, here we go. More half-dead trees. And I didn't show you this one. And I didn't show you that one. Why? Because I could not verify if these, in fact, were authentic. They looked, many of them looked authentic. Now, this eucalyptus tree is authentic. Half dead. But now we get to the crux and the depth and the meat and potatoes of this presentation, of this show. We're talking about messenger RNA, and not just with respect to the shots they're giving, but we're talking about messenger RNA as its own topic, because there's something I'm going to tell you that you're not going to hear anywhere else on the planet Earth, unless, of course, you delve into very deep research. Messenger RNA is an active form of DNA. It's not just floating around, waiting to be excreted or broken down. It is active, and it attaches when your DNA separates into single strands to copy the strands. The messenger RNA jumps in there and inserts itself, and they cause you to produce that sequence, that protein. These are amino acid sequences, usually nucleic acid sequences sometimes, but these sequences get reproduced by your own body. That's kind of what a virus does. Teaches your body, inserts a gene insertion into your cells to manufacture more viral particles, which then infect other cells. So when you inject messenger RNA, you're basically mimicking a virus, and you're teaching the body to mimic a virus. Now, viral mimicry is a term hardly anybody's ever heard of, but it is vastly overused in the autoimmune research community. And the beginning of the term viral mimicry began in the late 90s and early 2000s, but mainly it came on board really strong around 2007. Sloan Kettering doctors put out a book, the book entitled Autoimmune Disease and Viruses, or was it Viruses and Autoimmune Disease? So the word virus was in the title. Now, many of these viral mimicry research articles, they don't put the word virus in the title, but in the depth and the breadth of all of these articles, you will see viral, virus, viral, everywhere. Why? Because they're pulling out the exact same antiviral antibodies and the antiviral cytokines, antiviral proteins that are associated with severe viral infections, only they're pulling them out of what? Autoimmune patients. So let's learn about this viral mimicry, which I say is a smokescreen, but they're promoting it as the cause of autoimmune. Now, this is real sketchy, but I'm going to read to you some of this. This is an abstract, one of many. Many of them read the same. It's almost like they're copy and pasting. But anyways, here's a definition. Molecular mimicry. Notice they start out with molecular mimicry. They don't use the word virus of the very first word. You can't do that. Molecular mimicry is defined as a similar structures shared by molecules from dissimilar genes. I can't even get through the first sentence. Are you kidding me? Is that an oxymoron? They're completely blowing genetics out of the water. Kind of like the way the physicists are saying we have to come up with new physics to explain high-energy neutrinos flying out of the North or South Pole. No, there's a brown dwarf out there slinging alpha particles through the corona of the sun. And those alpha particles strike and hit 450 kilometers a second, and they strike and hit our molecules in our magnetosphere, and boom, we got high energy neutrinos. But now we're talking about molecular mimicry as defined by similar structures shared by molecules from dissimilar genes. Not true. Every virus that affects you is a human virus. Every virus that affects a tree is a tree virus. Every virus that affects a whale is a whale virus. Every tissue on the planet Earth can host a virus. The thing is those viruses usually are not transmissible from one kind of host to another. Not even from mammals to mammals, except for maybe a couple of these coronaviruses that seem to like bat dung, but also like to kill you as well if you breathe them in. Now, so dissimilar genes creating similar protein products is like saying I planted an apple seed, watered the apple seed with orange juice, and I got an orange tree. It doesn't happen. They're dissimilar genes. These, if there is mimicry going on, is by viruses that are human viruses and have genetic codes that can fit into our DNA. Therefore, they're not dissimilar. So I can't even get through the first sentence. And then they start the second sentence. Either several linear amino acids or in their conformational fit, which is, the copy, may be shared. And it didn't tell you how they're shared. It's not like a party where you share cookies. Hey, pass the pecan sandies if you're doing that. Even though their origins are separate. Well, anytime a virus inserts DNA into your body, it's a separate source. Yes, they're separate. But now they're trying to get away with explaining. They're trying to get away from the fact that viral infections may cause autoimmune. Now, Tulane University, they come right out and said it. They came right out and tested several autoimmune diseases and found that 4, especially ones that were on the rise, were being detected in the blood was viral antibodies against retrovirus A. Tulane came out and said retrovirus A may be causing these diseases. In fact, retro A, we hadn't even identified it for a long period of time in humans because retrovirus B is actually HIV. So now we have a retrovirus, it's retrovirus A. It's finally starting to show up in people, especially juvenile arthritis. Why juveniles? Well, they get a lot of shots, don't they? Now, if the retrovirus A, like Dr. Judy Merkovitz has said, is a contaminant, it wouldn't be the first time that viral vaccines are contaminated. In fact, they just pulled some off this year that were contaminated with a pig virus. I don't want to say big virus. I said pig, oink, oink. So, hence, during a viral, I'm reading again, I can't even get it through 2 sentences. Either several linear amino acids or their confrontational fit may be shared. It doesn't say they are shared. It said they may be shared. And they didn't narrow it down. Is it the linear amino acids or is it the conformational copies that are being shared? They don't know, but it's either or. So when you get 2 different answers to a math problem, you know they don't know the answer. And they're throwing darts at a dartboard with just a handful of darts and hoping that one of those darts hits the bullseye. But the mimicry for viral antigens in animal models of autoimmune disease, including myocarditis, is huge because myocarditis is what kills people usually that have severe autoimmune diseases. In the end, your heart inflames and wears out. But guess what? There's several other things that can cause myocarditis. And guess what they are? They're all viruses. You think it's a coincidence that these 4 viruses, or 5, that cause myocarditis are also associated with autoimmune disease. So, nobody can make the connection that viruses cause autoimmune. We got to keep cutting out that connection and blurring it. So it's mimicry. Your body's mimicking a virus. The virus is not causing autoimmune. But yet, Tulane University says it does, especially with retrovirus A. And what did Tulane do? They started giving some of these patients anti-HIV medication, acyclovir. And guess what happened? Many of the patients got better. But no, it can't be the virus. So now when they call it, they try to say, well, molecular mimicry, it's the virus causing your cells or your secondary infections to actually transfer this antigen. They call it an epitope. It's a part of the antigen that your antibodies attach to. So this bonding site, this structure, this thing that attracts antibodies is called the epitope, and they think they share epitopes. How do you share an epitope? They don't say gene splicing. They don't say gene insertion. They don't say by overrunning your DNA in your nucleus of your cell. No, we're sharing. Sharing is caring. Hence, they write, during a viral or microbe infection, if that organism shares cross-reactive epitopes for B and T cells, which produce antibodies, if they share that with the host, then the response to the infecting agent will also attack the host. But you're describing how a virus causes autoimmune. Viral mimicry is a ridiculous. You're overstepping the obvious. But when you share that, infecting agent with the host, it causes autoimmune disease. A variation on this theme, a variation, really? A second or third or repeated infections. What? Wait a minute. If you have an aggressive immune system that's so aggressive, it's attacking you, but how do you get second and third and keep getting repeated infections over and over and over again? Is this not a contradiction? They're saying that autoimmune is where your body attacks itself because it's so aggressive, but yet it's not near aggressive enough to prevent you from getting what they even said, second and third and fourth infections. And now they're trying to say the virus transfers the epitopes. In this article I'm reading, they transfer the epitopes to the other infections. And then the other infections share it with your host. And so they're kind of pushing the virus completely out of the picture. But the problem is, it all started with what? The virus. Funny how the theme of viral mimicry model is this. Well, viruses don't cause autoimmune, but they cause autoimmune. It's basically what they're saying. Well, they cause autoimmune, but they don't. Are you kidding me? That's what our science has come down to. And and when I read all of this, it floors me. It just floors me, because now they're trying to create even more smoke. And in this instance, where you get a second and third and fourth infection that is also carrying the same epitope, the secondary infections increase the number of antiviral, anti-host effector antibodies. Even if it's a bacterial infection, and the T cells and the B cells potentiate or precipitate an immune response that assaults your own body. It can't be that your body is just going after a virus and causing tissue destruction as collateral damage. And then they go on, and I mean, the last sentence, I have no clue what it means, but it says the formation of this concept, and I read the very first viral mimicry article done by Sloan Kettering doctors. The formation of this concept, initially via study of monoclonal antibodies or clone T-cell cross-recognition in a petri dish, through its evolution, though, in living models. So they take a disease out of a living model, they put it in a petri dish, and they study it. They don't tell you how, but they see that your T-cells get a cross-recognition and attack possibly your own body. But take that model and let's just compare it, the autoimmune model, and compare it to known viral infections they don't classify as autoimmune. Let's look at chickenpox. You get pustules, you get scabbing because your skin dies, and your skin usually dies because your immune system creates an inflammatory response that sometimes creates very strong peroxides. These peroxides kill tissue. Don't believe me? Pour some on your face. Let's see what happens. Pour some on your scalp. Peroxide kills tissue. So now you have a scab, and then the virus falls to the immune system. But then what happens 30, 40 years down the road? You get an infection. You get a cold, you get the flu, you get strep, you get a kidney infection, you get a bladder infection, and all of a sudden, what happens? Your chickenpox virus, hiding in your nerves, comes out and forms shingles. Shingles again causes tissue destruction, scabbing, and then goes back into remission. So you have a remission and activation state. And you have tissue destruction. And guess what? It's caused by a virus. So if you have tissue destruction in any other part of your body, why can't it be simply a viral infection? There's absolutely no evidence that says they're not. All they can do is keep shoving viral mimicry and theories down your throat as if they were factual. So, I mean, this was just one abstract from one article. You couldn't even get through the first two lines. And when they use the word either it's this or it's that, that's like saying, well, 1 plus 1 is either 3 or something else. That means they don't know when it's either this or it's that. Well, imagine if you try to put man on the moon using that kind of science. Well, you either turn your lift vector up or you turn your left vector down, but if you get it wrong, you kill the astronauts. So, but it's either or. Ooh, thank you for that report. So molecular mimicry shows up in titles, but they don't put the word virus 90% of the time in the title. They don't even start the word with virus, but as you go through the bulk and the breadth of these research articles, the word virus keeps showing up. They insert the word virus, kind of way the virus inserts messenger RNA into your cells. So they're talking about mimicry. Your body's mimicking a virus. Many of these were written at a time I was trying to draft a unified theory of disease. Nobody on the planet Earth has drafted a comprehensive unified theory of disease. I'm going to make my mark in history. I'm going to propose a unified theory of disease that most diseases are in fact infectious and related to anaerobic organisms. So if the things are anaerobic, then you have a unified theory of disease that mainly most of these horrible diseases are caused by pathogens. But don't you think it's odd that they're telling you this is safe, and we've heard that with a dozen other stuff that wasn't safe, but this one is, trust me, it's safe, but they're describing how it works, and they're describing an autoimmune model that they also subscribe to, viral mimicry. This shot, I'm trying to keep from using the V word, this shot trains your body to mimic a virus.